أما نادى بك الموت أما أسمعك الصوت أما تخشى من الفوت فتحتاط وتهتم.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Innal hamdalillahi nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfir. Wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudhillalah wa man yudlil fala hadiyalah. Wa asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la syarikalah. Wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man ittaba'ahum bi ihsanin ila yaumiddin. Amma ba'du. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Allahumma anfa'na bima 'allamtana wa 'allimna ma yanfa'una wa zidna ilma. Muslimin muslimat rahimani wa rahimakumullah, marhaban bikum. Good evening to all of you. Welcome to the class, insyaallah. Today is our comprehensive dakwah and training course. So insyaallah today we'll be discussing about what is dakwah. What is dakwah? Dakwah means to invite. Okay, dakwah meaning to invite. So dakwah is an Arabic word. Okay, dakwah means we enjoin or we invite. Okay, this is the meaning of dakwah. Or we can say dakwah also to call upon, to invite, to call upon, to enjoin. Okay, this is the meaning of dakwah. So the literal meaning of dakwah in Arabic is to invite or call to something. Okay, so basically every Wednesday our course or our class will be touching on the topic of dakwah. Okay, so when we say dakwah, we need to know the meaning of dakwah, correct? Because dakwah is an Arabic word. Okay, so dakwah meaning to invite or to call to something. Okay, dakwah meaning to invite or to call to something. Okay, how you spell the word dakwah? D-A and then there's an hyphen, W-A-H. Dakwah. Okay, so when it is used in combination with Islam, okay, when the word dakwah is used, of course in Arabic meaning, literally it means to invite. Okay, to call upon something. But when it combines with Islam, it means to invite mankind to submit to Allah willingly. And this is the meaning of dakwah in we call it in the Islamic terminology lah. Okay, the meaning of dakwah in Islamic terminology is to invite mankind to submit to Allah willingly. So means we do not force people to submit to Allah. So when we enjoin, we call people towards Allah, we call people towards Islam, actually we are inviting them so that they submit to Allah willingly. Okay, meaning to worship Him, to worship Allah alone, and follow His straight path. So that means, of course, when we call others towards Allah, it means we are bringing them towards Tawhid, towards monotheism. Okay, so to worship Him, to worship Allah alone, His straight path, and follow His straight path, and keep away from all sorts of disbelief and evil. Okay, so basically we enjoin towards good, we call towards Allah, but at the same time actually is also to keep away, okay, to keep away from all sorts of disbeliefs and evil. So basically when we do da'wah, when we invite others to submit to Allah, actually we are also forbidding evil at the same time. Right? When we enjoin others towards goodness, at the same time actually we are also forbidding evil at the same time. Right? So Allah SWT have said in the Quran, okay, Allah said that invite to the way of thy Lord with wisdom and beautiful preaching. Okay, Allah said that invite to the way of thy Lord, invite to the way of Allah with wisdom. Okay, so we need to know how are we supposed to call others towards Allah. We need to know how are we supposed to do the da'wah. That is, number one is with wisdom and also with beautiful preaching. Okay, with beautiful preaching. Okay, so this is the call of Islam, the message of all the prophets. Okay, the call to Islam and the message of all the prophets and messengers of Allah, because they preach the same message to their people. All prophets and messengers, right, they preach the same message to their people, to their nation, to their kaum. Allah SWT says in the Quran, okay, Allah SWT mention, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ يَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ هَدَى اللَّهُ وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ حَقًّا عَلَيْهِ الضَّلَالَةُ فَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Allah SWT said in the Quran, certainly we have raised among every nation a messenger who declared, serve Allah and shun false objects of worship. Thus were some guided by Allah, while ruins was justified on others. Travel over the earth and see what befell those who rejected their messengers. Okay, so this is a statement of Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Allah said that certainly walaqad ba'athna fi kulli ummatin rasulah. Allah said certainly we have raised among every nation a messenger who declared. Every messenger, what do they declare? What do they call upon? They will say, Ani'budullah. I'budullah. Okay? That means, I'budullah means serve Allah and shun false objects of worship. That means every messenger will invite others to worship Allah and also to refrain them from worshipping other than Allah. Mean other objects of worship. It may be angels, it may be prophets, it may be messengers, it may be jinn kind, it may be mountain or sun or moon, other than Allah. Right? So each and every prophet and messenger, they invite others to worship Allah and to shun all objects of worship. And of course, Allah mentioned that فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ هَدَى اللَّهُ. Thus were some guided by Allah. So when the prophet and messengers, when they do their da'wah, when they invite others to worship Allah, some are guided by Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Because the hidayah, the guidance is not from the prophet and messenger. The guidance is not from the one who call people. Yeah, it's not from the caller. But the guidance is from who? From Allah. From Allah. Okay? And also some will ruin. They were destroyed. Okay, was justified on others. Travel over the earth, and Allah SWT command, Allah said, Fasiru fil ardi. Allah SWT said, travel over the earth. Fanzuru kaifa kana akibatul mukadzibin. Allah said, travel over the earth and see what befell those who rejected their messengers. So those who rejected their messengers, who do not accept Islam, who do not accept the call of the messenger, they were destroyed by Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. That's the reason why Allah SWT command us to travel over the earth and see how Allah SWT have actually destroyed those who, among the mukadzibin, those who deny, those who object the message of the messenger. Okay? And da'wah, the ultimate aim of the da'wah is the total obedience to Allah. This is the ultimate aim. When we do our da'wah, right, we call others towards Allah. What is our aim? So that total obedience to Allah will come in the entire mankind. Total obedience. That means whatever that Allah SWT commands, we will do. Whatever that Allah SWT prohibits, we will refrain from it. Means total obedience. This is the aim, the ultimate aim of da'wah. Okay? So the ultimate aim of the da'wah is the total obedience to Allah sincerely from one's heart. That means they obey Allah sincerely. Okay, because if we obey Allah not sincerely, it means there is still ascribing partners to Allah. There is still shirk, there is still riya or sum'ah or ujub. So we need to obey Allah, we need to bring the total obedience to Allah. We have to do it sincerely for the sake of Allah. Okay, sincerely, whether in our inward action or also outward action. Inward means whatever is in our heart, or outward. Okay, so we cannot like pretend that we are obeying Allah. Then inside the heart we are not obeying Him. So this is actually is the characteristic of the hypocrites. We cannot do that, right? Or we cannot inwardly, but we do not show it outwardly. So we cannot. So we have to obey Allah inwardly and also outwardly. In our private life as well as in our public life, both. Privately, so we need to obey Allah. Publicly, so we need to obey Allah. Okay, so what we have discussed, can give us some pointers first. We have discussed about what? The meaning of da'wah, right? What is da'wah? Right? So what is da'wah? The question is, what is da'wah? So what is the answer? What is da'wah? Da'wah is to invite. Okay, this is the literal meaning lah. Okay, the linguistic meaning lah. Da'wah means to invite. So that means I can even say that I want to da'wah you to dinner, kan? This is the linguistic meaning of da'wah. Means I want to invite you to dinner. I say I want to da'wah you to dinner, kan? This is the linguistic meaning of da'wah. Okay? But the Islamic terminology da'wah is when it combines with the Islamic, the combination with Islam, it means what? To invite what?
To the straight path.
To invite mankind to the straight path, to invite mankind to submit to Allah. Okay? So in linguistic meaning, da'wah means to invite mankind to submit to Allah, to follow His straight path. That means the straight path of Allah, and also to keep away from all sorts of disobedience or disbeliefs or evil. So that means when we enjoin people towards goodness, right? When we keep on enjoining people towards goodness, it means we are also refraining them from badness of more evil. Just like, for example, when we enjoin someone towards salah, we say, come and let's pray, come learn how to pray, come perform your prayer, make effort on your prayer, pray sincerely, pray with devotion, pray with concentration, make effort on your prayer. So Allah said, inna solata tanha anil fasha wal munkar. Verily the prayers will prevent you from the fasha and also from the munkar, from the minor and also the major sins. So that means when we invite others towards prayer, it's actually we are also forbidding them from evil at the same time. When we invite others towards tawheed, we are also actually refraining them from shirk. Right? Because people will, sometimes we have to say do, but sometimes we also have to say don't do. So we need to know when to say do, when to say do not do. Right? Okay, so we move on. Now the second part is da'wah must be based on compassion. Okay? Da'wah must be based on compassion. Successful da'wah must stem from sincere compassion. So means there must be rahmah. There must be love. When we do our da'wah, we must have mercy. We cannot do our da'wah angrily, in anger, or not have that quality of forgiveness. We don't want to forgive people, no. We have to do da'wah with compassion. Okay? So successful da'wah must stem from sincere compassion, kindness, and the love of all goodness to people both in this life and in the hereafter. The da'iyah main concern is to bring people to the light of the truth, save them from the disbelief and its evil consequences, and to free them from all forms of slavery of the life of this world. In fact, this one we read 2 weeks ago. You still can remember. Okay? And this task was beautifully summarized by the companion Rabi' ibn Amir when commander of Persian army asked him, what has brought you from your Lord? What has brought you from your land? Right? If it is hunger, go back and we'll send you to food and clothes. So Rabi' probably told the commander of the Persian army, Allah has sent us with His message to mankind so that Allah releases whoever He desires from the worship of the people to the worship of the Lord. So today, if we do not worship our Creator, we will worship creations. It's either we learn how to worship our Creator, if not, we will worship other than Allah, and other than Allah are creations. So if we choose not to worship the Creator, it means we will definitely worship the creation. We will become slave of our own desire. We become slave of other than Allah. We become slave of our work, or other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So Allah has sent us with His message to mankind so that He releases whoever He desires from the worship of people to the worship of the Lord of people. That's number one. Number two, from the narrowness of the life of this world. Because the life of this world is very narrow. The life of this world is very short life. So basically, that's the reason why sometimes people get so choked up and stressed up with the life of this world. Because it's very narrow, it's very short life, very small. Right? So, we want to bring the people from the narrowness of the life of this world to the boundless grace of hereafter. the life of akhirah, boundless grace, no end. Right? So if we only feel that, oh, my life is only living in this world, then it becomes very stressed, right? Because we feel that, oh, after this life, then that's it. If I fail, means I fail. Right? Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Right? So basically, we want to tell people that, oh, the life of this world is very narrow. And we want to tell them about the vastness of the life of the hereafter. And also from the injustice of the man-made religions. Okay? The injustice of the man-made religions to the justice of Islam. Okay? Because basically, man-made religion or man-made law can never be perfect. It changes all the time. Right? But when Allah make a decision of on something, then that is the best decision. Allah's law is of course the most perfect and the best law. Right? So we want to bring people out from the man-made religions to the justice of Islam. And then also we did some discussion about the total number of religion, right? 4,000 over to 10,000 over registered religion, man-made religion. The religion by Allah is Islam. Islam is not a man-made religion. Islam means to submit, to obey, to surrender. Islam means peace. Islam is a religion not named after anyone, not even any prophet or messenger. Islam is a religion that Allah Himself named it Islam. Allah mentioned, Inna dina indallahi Islam. Verily, the religion by Allah is Islam. Okay? So Islam is to submit. So now the next is how to deliver the da'wah. How to deliver the da'wah. How are we supposed to do the amal or the act of calling others towards Allah? How to do it? Okay? So the da'iyah, the caller, aim and focus should be ensuring that da'wah is delivered to the people with wisdom and in good manners. Because we want to sell our product. We want to invite others to to our product, for example. You want to sell, right? So if you are a businessman, you want to sell a product, what kind of character you must have to make you a good businessman? Happy, okay, happy. Then besides that, of course lah, you cannot go and sell your product while feeling very sad, right? Then after that, the buyer will say, why you so sad today? You having problem or what? Happy also not so very happy. If so very happy, why today you so happy? So understanding. Besides that, funny.
You can joke around.
Joke around lah. But joke also there must be limitation, right? You cannot, because people think that, oh, this one is a joke only. This religion is just nothing but joke. Also cannot, right?
Charismatic.
Yeah? Charismatic, example?
When you speak, right?
Yeah.
Everyone will look at you and
Masya. So means there's haibah lah. There's haibah. So basically to get this haibah is a lot of sacrifice lah that need to be done behind you. One of it is of course your night amal, your connection with Allah, right? Basically connection first is the most important thing. You have to build your connection with Allah first. You have to get connected with Allah. So that's why for a da'i, for the caller, it's very important is his night amal, his night prayers, the supererogatory prayer. There is the night prayer, the tahajjud prayer, and also your Quran, because Quran is the word of Allah. So you yourself have to keep yourself connected with Allah. That means they call it, there's if I still can remember, there's 4 T. Number one is the T is, of course, T as in the letter T. One is your takbiratul ula. Takbiratul ula means for your prayer you must be praying with jama'ah. So when the imam say Allahu Akbar, right, you also Allahu Akbar. You get the first takbir with the imam. It shows that you are really concerned about your prayer. Solat, because solat is very important, right? Solat is to build connection with Allah. It's constant relationship with Allah. That's solat. That's number one. That is takbiratul ula. Okay, and of course, when we say takbiratul ula, this refers to the 5 times obligatory prayer, right? Of course, the best that will be the most, right? That's number one, takbiratul ula. Number 2 is your ta'lim. You have to learn knowledge. You have to set time to learn. You have to set time to what? To learn knowledge. Because learning knowledge is remembering Allah. Learning knowledge is remembering Allah. So you need to learn about your religion before you can actually convey or talk about your religion. Before you can talk about Allah, you need to know who is Allah. You need to give time to learn. Right? Not only about Allah. You want to bring people towards Salah, at least you must have some basic things about Salah. Some basic things. Right? Enough for you to actually practice, and also you can actually give people a bit of understanding how important and what is Salah is all about. So this is ta'lim. Ta'lim means to learn. Okay? And number 3 is your tasbihat. Tasbihat means is your daily zikir, your daily azkar, your daily, the time that you set for you to do your zikir. For example, when you get up from sleep, what you have to read, what you have to recite. When you go to the toilet, what is the etiquette of going to the toilet. When you eat. Right? Because these are the daily routines that we do. Right? Eating and drinking, going out, entering and leaving the toilet, right? Sleeping, right? And also eating and drinking, sleeping, going out toilet, and also the mosque, the etiquette of the mosque when you always go to the mosque. So basically, our daily life of a Muslim always either we just get up from sleep, or we go to sleep, or we eat, or we drink, we enter the toilet, or coming out from the toilet. So that means you need to know what are the etiquettes. You use your clothes. When you use your clothes, what are the supplication? What are the invocation that you need to recite? When you remove your clothes, what is the dua? Right. So they are always zikir for you. There's always something for you to recite in order for you to be connected with Allah. Okay, so how many did I mention?
3.
Number 1 is?
Takbiratul ula.
Number 2?
Ta'lim.
Number 3?
Tasbih.
Okay, in fact, actually number 3 is tilawatul Quran first. That's number 3. Number 3 is tilawatul Quran. So that means there is, of course, after you focus on your prayer, then you need to always recite the Quran. So this is basically the bullets of our da'wah. Da'wah is just like if you have a gun, but there's no bullet, can the gun shoot not? So if you want to shoot, we need to have bullets. If not, then our da'wah will just be from our mouth to the ears. That's all. So now when I talk to you, you only listen here. Maybe you will not reach your heart. You just listen here. Or maybe you will just say, wow, very good. He talk good. But that's all. It will not affect your life at all. But if you, let's say, if you put bullets inside, so when you speak, even not only speak, your action, your movement, your face, your attitude, your character, actually you will touch people's hearts. Because da'wah is not about lips to the ears. Da'wah is about heart to the heart. So you need the bullets. So that's the reason why it's important. Number 1 just now, Takbiratul ula. Number 2, Ta'lim. Number 3, tilawatul Quran. Then number 4 is tasbihat. Tasbihat means you take care of your daily azkar. Your every morning zikir, your evening zikir, going to the toilet, leaving the toilet, all your daily invocation. We call it the doa masnunah. All the masnun doa. Okay? And now lastly is your tahajjud. It's your night prayer. The tahajjud. Okay? So basically scholars, they simplify for us lah. So they say this as basically. Of course there are also other amals, but for a da'i this is very important. The night prayer, tahajjud, is very important. Okay? So yes.
Tilawah and tadabbur, which one should we?
Okay, basically tilawah is more on reading, reciting. Tadabbur is more on contemplating the Quranic verse. So both is important. Actually, every day you must give time for tilawah, and then every day so you must give time for tadabbur. Maybe every day we can make tadabbur of 1 ayah or 2 ayah. Tilawah maybe we can read 1 page or 2 pages of the Quran. But basically for normal people, actually the scholar says that we need to have the target every day is 1 juzuk of the Quran. Reading. Every day is one juzuk. So that means in a month we will finish the Quran how many times? 1 time. Sometimes we think of it, it's like it's not possible, right? We feel like, sometimes in a day so I do not even touch the Quran, for example. But actually it's not impossible, but we do not start because we do not start. So we will be busy in other things. But when we busy ourselves with the Quran, we realize that other things that we do we need 1 hour or 2 hours. Suddenly we can finish it within 15-20 minutes or half an hour. Finish it because Allah put barakah in our time. Yes. Yeah.
Let's say for example like say for memorization, right?
Yes.
Does it count in under tilawatil?
Okay, memorization is memorization, but you still need to give time lah. If let's say you are in the process of memorization, then you can give that time for you to memorize also. During the time when you busy with the Quran, you can actually divide your time lah. Maybe you can give, let's say you have 1 hour for the Quran, then you divide your time equally lah. Maybe that 1 hour, maybe I'll spend half an hour reading. Or sometimes even before you memorize, you still need to read one. Like you read, you contemplate, and then that will make your memorization easier. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just that there is it's recommended to khatam in specified number of days, right?
Yes. So at least we say that the maximum our target is 1 juzuk a day, and 1 month we will finish the Quran how many times? 1 time. That's the minimum lah. That is the target. That's the minimum. But for those who memorize, those who hafiz, they will read 3 juzuk a day. So that means in 10 days they already khatam 1 time. These are those who hafiz. Minimum for hafizul Quran. That means they will read 1 juzuk seeing, 1 juzuk not seeing, 1 juzuk in their prayer. So 3 juzuk they will finish. This is some tertib that the madrasah will give those hafiz, those who already memorize 30 juzuk. Yes.
Another question.
Yeah.
But if you're saying that 1 juzuk is
reading,
1 juzuk
memorization.
1 more is for
when they read in their prayers, when they pray, finish 1 juzuk.
So that means that 1 juzuk can be maybe the first juzuk of the Quran only, is it?
That means in sequence lah. That means 3 juzuk lah. That means if within 10 days you complete the first. That means today they will read from juzuk 1 to juzuk 3. Tomorrow juzuk 4, 5, 6. And then next day 7, 8, 9. And then continue. So that means in 1 week, in 10 days they will complete the whole Quran. So this for those who are hafizul Quran. If they want to maintain their memorization. And this is the minimum. This is the minimum tertib that the scholars give us. People like us, general people who are not hafiz, every day we must at least read 1 juzuk. But sometimes to think of it, is it possible or not? It's possible if we really want it. Okay, and this will come when what? When we do this kind of thing, when we discuss. When we discuss, we talk about it, Allah will give us the strength. For example, 1 juzuk, there's about 20 pages, right? 20 pages, 1 juzuk, right? 20 pages. That means front and back lah, 20 pages. So you can divide maybe 5 page after Fajr, 5 page after Zuhur, or 4 page or 5 page. You can fasting month. Because why? Because fasting month, there is the environment. That's why it help us. Because of the environment, that's why it help us. But fasting month should be an example of all the months, right? Because if a believer make their life in this world like fasting month, then they will break their fast in Jannah. So basically, fasting month is an example of the months of the life of the Muslim believer. It's just an example for us. So normally for example, after the fasting month, then the Shawwal, sometimes Shawwal we already pancit already. Where's our witir? Where's our tahajud? Whereas in the fasting month, we do sometimes minimum 11 rakat. Some pray 20 rakat of Tarawih. Some maybe more than that, right? But Shawwal already, they automatically stop. So that means it's too fast to be slackened. So at least Shawwal you still maintain, then after that, that's the reason why the Salafus Saleh, 6 months before Ramadan, they already make dua to Allah. That Allah lengthen their life so that they can meet the Ramadan, right? Then after that, when they meet the Ramadan, they are very happy. They all out for the Ramadan. And once Ramadan completed, they feel very sad. They feel very sad and they dua to Allah that Allah SWT will accept their days in Ramadan. So this is an example. And this always we listen during Ramadan we will listen, right? All these stories, right? So that's the reason why when we come and meet once a week like this, it's actually to revive, to give us the strength again for us to be steadfast. Okay, in fact, even like for example, like just now Brother Danish was asking me about Quran. Basically, the scholars also give us guide how are we supposed to divide our days, divide our 24 hours. Because now we are talking about being a da'i. So being a da'i, important asset that everybody have, especially for a da'i, for a caller, is time. So we need to divide our time. And this, of course, the division of this time is not for everyone, but this is a guideline. Like everybody, we have how many hours? 24 hours. We have 24 hours. Right? Okay. That means we have 24 hours. If let's say we sleep how many hours? 6 hours. 6 is average. Some maybe more older you get, maybe 4 hours, 5 hours. Right? If you are like more younger, maybe 8 hours. You need to sleep more, right? No? So it's considered 8 hours is 1/3 of the 24 hours. So now you need to divide your resting. So that's the reason why the scholar says even resting also, you need to divide in a way that you will choose a small portion of the day for you to rest also. So you get the reward of Qailullah. Qailullah means it's a short nap in the day. It's either during the duha time or after the zuhur time, before the asar. So scholars have different of opinions in regards to the time of Qailullah. Some scholars say for Jum'ah, your Qailullah will be after Jum'ah, before asar. Because for Jum'ah, in the day, in the morning before you go for Friday prayers, you are actually supposed to go early. So some scholars say for Friday, Qailullah, the best is after Jum'ah. But for normal days, the best time for you to do a Qailullah, a short nap, is before Zuhur. Short nap means like 30 minutes or maybe 1 hour. It can be after your Isha, your Duha time, or maybe somewhere before your Zuhur time, you have a very short nap. Why? Because this is a power nap with the intention that, oh Allah, you wake me up later at night for tahajjud. So it's just a short. And this has been practiced even in Japan. In countries like Japan, they have this short nap. In big companies, I heard, they said in Japan, they have some time where they ask their workers to take some rest. And this is Qailullah. And Qailullah, when you talk about Qailullah, this short nap in the day, they say that the only person who do not take a Qailullah is the devil. The devil, he don't even rest a moment because he knows that he will have to bring people far away from Allah, right? So he don't even want to rest. But a believer, it's a very important sunnah is to take a short nap in the day. That is known as Qailullah. Okay? So like what I said, for example, you divide your time. If let's say you know that you need about, let's say 6 hours a day to rest, then you divide. You say, okay, now 1 hour I give a day, 5 hours for night. For example, if let's say, you need 8 hours, then you divide. Maybe 1 hour you rest in the day, and then another 7 hours you rest at night. So everybody is not the same. But you know that 8 hours is the maximum for me to take rest. But the more older I have, then I minimum my rest time. So now you are balanced with how long? How many more? 16 hours. Okay, 16 hours. Average working time for human, how many? 10 or 8 hours. If we say 9 to 5, how many hours? About 8 hours. So we say average we work how many hours a day? 8 hours. But sometimes we need to work more. Some people, they need to work less. But the more we are, the more older we get, we should minimize our working time for the dunya. We should minimize. Maybe when we are young, we have a lot of responsibility, many things to pay. Maybe we need to work hard. Maybe we need more time to work. But we must know our limit. Because 8 hours is the average, right? So if you want to increase, okay, how many more hours? 1, 2, you don't give another 8 hours, then it become how many hours? 16 hours. That means 16 hours work, 8 hours sleep. Kalas already your life. Then where's your ibadah? Even though working is also ibadah, but there's also other form of ibadah that you need to do. That's why to spend your time wisely is very important. That's why normally when we learn about the qualities of da'i, we need to be able to divide our time. Okay, so we say that in normal situation, let's say we just put average, 8 hours we are working. Okay, I put to the maximum, 8 hours we are sleeping. Maximum. But only thing, the sleeping we divide into 2 portions in the day and also at night. In the day, just for a short nap, so that we get to practice the sunnah of the Prophet, which is known as Qailullah. And then after that, we are balanced how many hours? 8 hours. So now these 8 hours, how are we going to divide the time? So we need to divide these 8 hours in sense that we need to divide these 8 hours into 4 amals. 4 amals. Okay? Number 1 is dakwah. Okay? That means we need to divide that these 8 hours that we have, we need to divide these hours into 4 main amals. Number 1 is dakwah. That means the time that we need to give to invite others towards Allah, towards the religion. Okay? And of course, there's more breakup to this. Okay, this is just the main breakup. Number 2, you must give time out of these 8 hours. You already know, first is you have to busy yourself with da'wah. Second is teaching and learning. Okay, teaching and learning. You must give time. There cannot be a day that you do not teach someone something, at least your own family members, your own wife, your own children. Or a day must not pass that you do not learn anything new. So that means you are not being productive. Right? So there must be teaching and learning. That's number 2. That's the second main amal. Number 3, you must set a time for your ibadah. That means your zikir, your doa, your solat, your tilawatul Quran. So there must be a time where you set up for your own worship. When your own worship is divided to many categories lah. Your solat, your zikir, your doa, your memorizing the Quran. Okay, memorizing the Quran you can put under teaching and learning, for example. And then after that, another main amal is khidmat. Khidmat means you need to serve your own self. You don't expect people to serve you. You need to bathe your own self. You need to make sure you are clean. If you have clothes, you need to clean your own clothes. Right? So you need to serve your own self. At the same time, you also find time to serve others. To serve your parents, to serve your wife, your children, your family members, your neighbors, your community. Right? Right? So that means these 8 hours that we are left with, because 8 hours we are working to search our halal livelihood, another 8 hours resting. So these 8 hours we are going to divide into 4 main amals, which is da'wah, teaching and learning, zikir, ibadah and doa, and lastly is khidmat. So now you have 8 hours. So how are you going to divide your 8 hours into these 4 amal? So everyone has to know how to divide their own time. Some people maybe they say that, okay, I'll give da'wah longer hours. Maybe my teaching and learning, maybe I'll give these hours. But as long as you know that in a day, you must busy yourself 8 hours with these 4 amal. You must have a target. Sometimes some people maybe their da'wah is more. They spend more hours in da'wah. Because that should be the top priority actually. If you're not busy in da'wah, if let's say now you don't have anyone to talk to about Allah, you don't have anyone to bring towards Allah, for example, then you should busy yourself what? Teaching and learning. You can memorize one ayah of the Quran, memorize hadith, read books, right? Do something that will improve your knowledge. If let's say you're not busy in teaching and learning, then you should busy in your own worship. And you ask yourself, have I finished my morning zikir? Have I finished my evening zikir? Right? Have I read my Quran today, 1 juzuk a day? Right? Have I memorized 1 or 2 ayat a day, for example? So you must busy yourself your own worship. Lastly, if you're not busy in this, then you should busy yourself with serving yourself first. Right? For example, sometimes we need to groom ourselves, we need to keep ourselves clean. Right? We need to make sure that we do not put others, put others in difficulty. Right? We ourselves, we must make sure that we serve ourselves. Then after that, lastly, we serve. Lastly, we also, of course, the remaining of our time, we serve our family members, our parents, and the community, and so on. So basically, each and every of these 4 main amals, they are breakup. Okay? So it is something which actually I do not plan to deliver, but because since Brother Danny just now, but it's very important. Okay?
If we go gym.
Yeah, go gym. Go gym means you are khidmat to yourself. Right? Means you are keeping yourself fit. You need to take care of your own health. So it's good. Going gym also you can put under one of the your timetable, your routine timetable. Okay, so brothers, insyaAllah, we prepare for our Isyak. Okay, we go for our Isyak first. Then all of us take a walk to the Isyak, to the masjid. Maybe we can meet some brothers, we can bring them insyaAllah together with us. At least one person try to bring one new brother insyaAllah after the Isyak prayer. Okay, never mind, it's okay. We may delay a bit. We can see who is potency. We try to talk to them, say that we have class going on, then we can invite them over insyaAllah, because we have till about 9:15 insyaAllah. Okay, may Allah SWT accept our gathering. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal asri innal insana lafi khusrin illa alladhina amanu wa amilus solihati wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay.